Book Summary of Cheerfully Refuse by Leif Enger. Imagine a world where the smallest choices spiral into uncharted territories of uncertainty and revelation, and where the human heart beats with a deep, yearning desire to connect, yet the mind remains entangled in a web of self-doubt and fear. In Cheerfully Refuse Leif Enger crafts a vivid and emotionally charged journey through the landscape of love, loss, and self-discovery. This is a story where seemingly insignificant decisions unravel the tight fabric of a seemingly quiet life, revealing a profound truth about the nature of happiness, sacrifice, and our capacity to change. At the heart of Cheerfully Refuse is its protagonist, Emil Swenson, a man caught in the crosshairs of his own fractured existence. Emil, a quiet, reserved individual, has lived much of his life adhering to the expectations placed upon him by his family, his community, and most importantly, by his own doubts. The story begins in the small, rural town of Elmswood, where Emil's life has been more or less predictable. He's an unassuming man, running his family's modest hardware store, keeping to himself, and simply going through the motions of life. He doesn't expect much to change. After all, it's been years since his wife's passing, and his son, Gabe, is distant and hardly ever around. However, everything shifts when a mysterious woman named Clara Davenport enters his life. Clara, with her fiery red hair and a gaze that seems to pierce through Emil's well-constructed walls, comes into town to sell her late husband's estate. Her arrival in Elmswood seems as sudden as it is unexpected, and she brings with her a whirlwind of emotions and a series of decisions that will force Emil to confront the parts of himself he has long buried. Her presence awakens something within Emil, a long-dormant yearning for connection and for something more than the life he's been living. Clara and Emil's relationship unfolds with a quiet intensity, a slow burn that mirrors the quiet rhythms of Elmswood itself. Clara's charm and warmth are undeniable, but there's something in her past that keeps her from fully embracing the possibility of a future with Emil. As their relationship deepens, Emil is faced with the delicate balance of wanting to protect his heart while also learning to trust again. Clara, too, is wrestling with her own demons, her complicated history with her late husband, her fear of falling into patterns of failure, and the deep loneliness that comes with living a life of constant change. As the story progresses, the two characters grow together in unexpected ways, revealing the complexities of love, regret, and the quiet battle that takes place when one is confronted with the truth of their own desires. Emil finds himself in the midst of a moral tug-of-war, one that challenges his very understanding of who he is and who he wants to become. Does he continue to live the life of cautious restraint, allowing fear and doubt to dictate his every move? Or does he choose the unknown, letting his heart lead him down a path that could end in both joy and pain? But Cheerfully Refuse is more than just a love story between Emil and Clara. It is a meditation on the nature of happiness itself. As Emil's interactions with Clara grow deeper and more complicated, he begins to understand that happiness is not a destination to be reached, but rather a state of being that comes from embracing the unpredictable twists of life, from letting go of the need for certainty, and from allowing oneself to be vulnerable. His journey toward this realization is not an easy one, and Enger masterfully paints the internal struggles that Emil faces as he grapples with his own limitations. At the same time, Enger doesn't shy away from portraying the deep pain that accompanies personal growth. Emil must confront his grief over his late wife's death, his regrets over missed opportunities, and the deep-seated resentment he holds towards his son Gabe, who, like Emil, has chosen a life that is distant and seemingly out of reach. Gabe's estrangement from his father is one of the most poignant aspects of the narrative, and as Emil's journey progresses, the reader is drawn into the painful question of whether reconciliation is even possible. The complexities of father-son relationships are portrayed with a raw honesty that resonates deeply with anyone who has Ever struggled to understand the boundaries of familial love? Throughout the novel, Enger's writing is evocative and thoughtful, weaving in elements of suspense and quiet mystery that propel the narrative forward. Clara's past is slowly revealed, adding layers of intrigue to her character, and the town of Elmswood itself becomes a character in its own right, a place of deep secrets, unspoken truths, and histories that have been long buried. The town's rhythms, the changing of the seasons, the small, intimate moments between Emil and Clara, all of these details create a rich, textured world that feels both familiar and strangely distant. One of the novel's most striking themes is the idea of refusal. The title, 星号 Cheerfully Refuse 星号, speaks to the choices we make, not just in terms of what we accept, but what we choose to refuse. For Emil, the act of refusal takes on a deep significance as he grapples with his fears and hesitations. The refusal to open up, to let others in, to embrace the unknown, these are the barriers he must overcome in order to move forward. And yet, this refusal is not always a conscious decision. Sometimes, it is simply the way we cope with a world that feels too overwhelming, too uncertain to navigate. As Emil and Clara continue to explore their connection, they must confront their own deepest fears and desires. They are forced to reckon with the possibility of failure, of heartbreak, and of the terrifying vulnerability that comes with truly loving another person. But in doing so, they discover that the very act of refusing to close themselves off from life, even in the face of uncertainty, is what leads them toward the possibility of joy. In the end, 星号 Cheerfully Refuse 星号 is a deeply moving exploration of the ways in which our choices shape us, the ways in which love can heal even the most broken parts of our hearts, and the ways in which we must all learn to embrace the unknown with both courage and humility. Leif Enger's novel reminds us that life is not something to be controlled, but something to be lived, messy, unpredictable, and beautiful in its imperfection. With its compelling characters, tender moments, and thought-provoking themes, 星号 Cheerfully Refuse 星号 is a novel that will stay with you long after the last page is turned, making you reconsider what it truly means to embrace life in all its flawed, wonderful complexity.